Welcome to the next lecture in the lecture series of electronic instrumentation. In the very first lecture, we have learnt about the basics of instrumentation or the definition of electronic instrumentation, its architecture, the functionality of different blocks in the instrumentation system and their applications. Now in the present lecture, let us see the characteristics of measuring instruments. And these characteristics are essential to know. Based on these characteristics, we will be able to choose the measuring instruments for the suitable application. And we all know, we have heard this term characteristic. Characteristic will tell us the behavior, certain behavior. So you have already worked with diodes and transistors where you have drawn VI characteristics. So it gives us information. If it is a VI characteristic, it gives us information about the voltage and current. If the input is voltage, how the output current is changing, that information is given by that VI characteristic. So in general, characteristic gives us information about the output and input, how the instrument output is changing with respect to the input, how instrument is responding to the stimulus. That information is given by the characteristic. So as part of this characteristic with respect to the instrumentation, every measuring instrument should possess certain characteristics. And what are these characteristics and how they are categorized, and we will look into the details of each and every characteristic. So these characteristics are broadly classified into two. They are static characteristics and dynamic characteristics. So as the name suggests, static means that which doesn't change with time, dynamic means that which changes with time. So what are these static characteristics and dynamic characteristics? Let us go into the details of these two. The first is static characteristics. These are the set of characteristics or set of criteria defined for the measuring instruments when the physical quantity being measured by the instrument doesn't vary with time or very slow, does not vary with time. If the quantity being measured by the instrument doesn't vary with time, and the characteristics that are defined under these conditions are called static characteristics. And there are many static characteristics. They are accuracy, precision, resolution, dead space, tolerance, range, linearity of the instrument, sensitivity of the measuring instrument, instrument drift, and hysteresis. These are the 10 main static characteristics of a measuring instrument. The first is accuracy. So accuracy gives us information about how to how much extent the measured value is close to the standard value, or it is defined as the difference between the true value and measured value of the physical quantity being measured by the instrument. So it is the difference between the measured value and true value of the quantity under measurement, or difference between the measured value and true value of the measurand. And accuracy is specified in terms of percentage of true value and percentage of full scale deflection. So on any measuring instrument, accuracy is specified in terms of either in terms of percentage of full scale deflection or percentage of true value. And using these two formulas, we can evaluate the accuracy of any instrument. So percentage of true value is defined as the ratio of measured value minus true value by true value into 100. And percentage of full scale deflection is the ratio of measured value minus true value by maximum scale value of full scale deflection into 100. So the accuracy is defined as the difference between the measured value and true value of the quantity under measurement, or measured value and true value of the measurand. So let us understand this with an example. Let us suppose if the accuracy of a temperature measuring instrument is given as 0.5% and the full scale range of the full scale deflection of this instrument is given as 500 degrees centigrade. So what is the accuracy? So accuracy is percentage of full scale deflection. It is given as percentage of plus or minus 0.5%. plus or minus 0.5 times full scale deflection is 500. So it is equivalent to plus or minus 2.5 degrees. So at any instant, the value measured by this temperature indicator will have an error within these two limits. The measured value will be within the limits of plus or minus 2.5 degrees centigrade. Let us suppose if the input to this temperature indicator is if the input is 100 degrees centigrade. The indicator should display 100 degrees centigrade. But as the accuracy is specified as plus or minus 0.5 percentage of full scale deflection, there may be an error of plus or minus 2.5 degrees. So the measured value may be in the range of by considering the accuracy specified, the value measured by this temperature indicator will always be in the range of 97.5 degrees centigrade to 102.5 degrees centigrade for an input of 100 degrees. Ideally it has to show 100 degrees. As there is accuracy error, it may show 97.5 or 98 degrees or 99 degrees or 99.5, 101 or 102. So the measured value will always be within this 2.5 degrees centigrade. Next important instrument characteristic is precision. Precision means literally or simply precision means the consistency of measurements, or it is defined as the ability of the instrument to produce the same output when the measurement is done for number of times. When we measure the physical quantity multiple times, the output should be same, or there must be agreement within those multiple measurements. This is called as precision. And there are two terms which are synonymously used with precision. So these two terms, repeatability and reproducibility, are synonymously used with the precision. Repeatability means it is same as precision. So if the measurement is done for same measurement conditions for using the same instrument by the same operator, so that particular measurement is called as repeatability. If the measurement is done by different operator by using different instrument over a long period of time, the output, the number of readings that are observed under these conditions is called reproducibility. So repeatability and reproducibility are the two terms which are synonymously used with the precision, and these two terms represent the spread of output readings, and this spread is referred to as repeatability if the measurement is done for constant operating conditions, and this spread is referred to as reproducibility if the measurement is done for varying measurement conditions. So precision is the ability of the instrument to reproduce the same output, or degree of agreement within a group of measurements. So an instrument is supposed to be both accurate and precise, but in most of the cases the instrument might be accurate but not be precise, or it may be precise and may not be accurate. So it may possess any of these two. An imprecise instrument may be accurate, or inaccurate instrument may be precise, or sometimes the instrument may be both accurate and precise. Now let us understand this accuracy and precision with few examples. The first example is measuring a fixed target position. Our target is the center of this port. This central point is our target. So we have done 3 different trials. In the first trial, the measurements are scattered. So we have 7 measurements, and these measurements are scattered. They are not close to the center. They are not close to the center, and they are not close to one another. Means they are not close to the standard value or the standard position, that is center, and the measurements are not close to one another. So in this case the measurement is neither accurate nor precise, or in this case there is low accuracy and low precision. Let us take the second case. In this case, the measurements are close to one another, means there is agreement in the number of measurements. They are close to one another, but they are not same, they are not close to the central position. So in this case, there is low accuracy and high precision because the measured positions are close to one another. So there is repeatability of measurements. It means the measurement is precise. There is high precision, and the all these measurements are not close to the central position. So there is low accuracy. Let us see the third case. In this case, the measurements are close to one another and they are close to the target position, that is center. So the values are close to one another and there is repeatability of measurements. So in this case, there is high accuracy and high precision. So let us understand the accuracy and precision with one more example. So in this case, our aim is to measure the weight of an object, and the true value is given as 5 grams. And we are measuring the weight, and during different trials we have observed the weights of certain object whose true value is known to us, and these measurements are categorized into 3 different sets. So in the first set, in each and every set there are 3 trials. In the first set, the weight is measured as 4.6 grams, 4.2 grams and 5.2 grams. Let us first check whether these values are close to 5 or not. No, they are not close to 5 grams. And let us see if there is any repetition in the measurement. There is no repetition. In the trial 1 it is 4.6, the next trial it is 4.2, in the third trial it is 5.2. So there is no repeatability of measurements, and these measurements are not close to the true value, that is 5 grams. So in this case, there is low accuracy and low precision because the measured values are not close to the true value, means it is not accurate. There is no repeatability of measurements, so there is low precision. Let us see the second set of measurements. In this case, the measured weights are 4.5 grams, 4.5 grams and 4.5 grams in the 3 trials. In the second set, there is repeatability of measurements, that is the measured value is 4.5 grams in the 3 trials, and these values are not close to 5 grams. It means in this case there is low accuracy and high precision. So here the instrument that is used for measuring the weight is highly precise because it is able to give the same output, same weight under multiple measurements, but those measured values are not close to the true value, means the instrument is precise in the second set of measurements and it is not accurate, there is low accuracy. Let us see the third set. So the 3 measured values under 3 trials are 4.98 grams, 4.97 grams and 4.98 grams. These 3 measured values are close to 5 grams. They are almost very close to 5 grams and there is repeatability. So in this case, so we can say that the instrument used for measuring the weight is both accurate and precise, or the measurements are highly accurate and precise. Next important static characteristic is the resolution of an instrument. It is defined as the minimum change in the input or smallest possible increment in the input for which there is output is called resolution. Smallest possible change in the input that can be detected by the instrument with certainty is called resolution, and this resolution is specified in percentage. So this percentage of resolution is defined as the ratio of delta I by full scale into 100, where delta I is the maximum change in the input. For this maximum change in the input, there will be a change in the output. Smallest possible change in the input that can be certainly detected by the instrument is called resolution. Let us understand this with an example. So we have a force transducer whose full scale range is given as 0 to 200 Newton, and the resolution is specified as 0.2%. Let us see for how much change in the input there will be change in the output. So it is 0.2, resolution is given as 0.2%. So it means 0.2 by 100 into full scale. As according to this resolution formula, so it is equal to 0.4 Newton. So if there is a change of 0.4 Newton force, then only we will observe the change in the output. If the applied force is less than 0.4 Newton, let us suppose if it is 0.3 Newtons or 0.2 Newtons or 0.1 Newtons, there won't be any change in the output. As long as the force applied is greater than or equivalent to 0.4, there will be change in the output. So the resolution of this force transducer is 0.2% of full scale value, that is equal to 0.4 Newtons. So the maximum input change that is required for the change in the output is 0.4 Newton. So the smallest change that is required to bring a change in the output is 0.4 Newton in this example. And next instrument characteristic is dead space or threshold. And this dead space is defined as the range of different input values for which there is no change in the output. So even if we change the input from 0, so as long as this input change crosses certain limit, there won't be any change in the output or the range of input. So you can understand this from these characteristics. So here we have changed the input from 0. So as long as this input, as long as we change the input from this point to this point, there is no change in the output. So whenever the input crosses this particular point, instrument starts responding. So there is no output for this particular band. Similarly on the other side. So for this and this space is called as dead space. So dead space is the range of different input values over which there is no response from the instrument or there is no change in the output. So let us see what is the threshold. So when the input is increased gradually from 0, there is some minimum value below which there is no change in the output. As long as the instrument input exceeds this threshold value, then only there will be change in the output. Instrument starts responding to the input once it crosses the threshold limit. Next instrument characteristic is tolerance. You are all familiar with this term tolerance, which we have come across while working with the resistors. So tolerance is the maximum allowable error in the measurement. And next characteristic is range or span, and this range is defined as the maximum and minimum values that the instrument is designed to measure is called range of the instrument, and span is the difference between the maximum and minimum values of the range. So the input span is equal to maximum value of the input that can be measured by the instrument and minimum value of the instrument that can be measured by the instrument. So input span is equal to the difference of in Imax and Imin. Similarly, output span is the difference between the maximum output value and minimum output value, output span. So it is an example is presented here. So if we have a temperature instrument, its input range can be 100 to 500 degrees centigrade and output range can be 4 to 20 milliamperes. So how can we calculate the span of this particular temperature measuring instrument? Input span is equal to the difference between the maximum input and minimum input, that is 500 minus 100. It is equal to 400 degrees centigrade. Similarly, output span is equal to difference between maximum output that can be displayed by this instrument and minimum output, that is 20 minus 4, 16 milliamperes. This is the span of input and output span of this temperature measuring instrument. Next instrument characteristic, or an important instrument characteristic, is linearity of the instrument, and this linearity is defined as the ability of the instrument to produce the instrument characteristic symmetrically and linearly. ability of the instrument to linearly reproduce the input characteristics in the output. And this linearity is a measure of non-linearity. Linearity is usually specified in terms of non-linearity. So if we can measure the non-linearity of the instrument, so we can say to how much extent our instrument is linear, to how much extent our measurements are deviated from the linear curve. So the linearity is defined as the maximum deviation of the linear characteristic as a percentage of full scale output. So as I said, it is specified in terms of percentage of non-linearity. Let us understand this with the characteristic. So we have a characteristic, and ideally the relation between input and output should be a straight line. So we expect the relation between input and output to be linear. But the measured value, this is the measured value, so measured characteristic. So there are deviations from the straight line. So we measure the maximum deviation and we calculate the percentage of non-linearity using the maximum deviation, and this percentage of non-linearity is calculated as the ratio of maximum deviation from the ideal straight line by full scale reading. So using this formula, we can calculate the non-linearity of an instrument. So we have to observe the maximum deviation from the set point, and then we know the full scale reading, and using these two we can calculate the non-linearity of the instrument. Let us understand this even better with this characteristic. So we have ideal straight line, we have measured output. So we observe the maximum deviation. So the deviation, there are two deviations, delta O1 and delta O2. So whichever is maximum, we'll consider that deviation in the numerator. Maximum deviation delta O, it can be either delta O1 or delta O2. Whichever is maximum, we'll take that value divided by output span, the difference between Omax and Omin. This will give us the percentage of non-linearity. And linearity is a desirable characteristic of measuring instrument. All the measuring instruments are expected to be linear. This is a desirable and important characteristic of the instrument. And the next important characteristic is sensitivity. And this is also very important and desirable. So instruments are expected to have high sensitivity. And this is defined as the change in output when the input changes by given amount. It is defined as it is a measure of the change in output when the input quantity being measured changes by the given amount. It can also be defined as the ratio of change in output by change in input. It is defined as the ratio of change in output by change in input quantity. Essentially, based on this sensitivity only, the scale of any measuring instrument is designed or prepared. This sensitivity is essentially equal to scale spacing or scale division. So as I said, at any operating point, the sensitivity of any instrument is defined as the ratio of change in output by change in input. The ratio of change in output. If the output is Q0, the ratio of change in Q0 by ratio of change in input Qi. And there is a relation between linearity and sensitivity. If the instrument is linear, the sensitivity will be constant, and vice versa. If the sensitivity is constant, we can say that the instrument is linear. So for a linear instrument, the sensitivity will be constant throughout the measurement. And if the instrument is non-linear, the sensitivity will be different at different operating points. At a particular input value, we'll have one sensitivity for that instrument, and at a different input value, we'll have a different sensitivity. So for non-linear instrument, the sensitivity will be different at different operating inputs. For linear instrument, the sensitivity will be same throughout the measurement. So as I said, the sensitivity can be calculated from the characteristic also. The sensitivity can be calculated from the slope of the characteristic. Let us suppose we have a linear characteristic. Or let us say this is Qi and this is Q0. So the slope of the characteristic is delta Q naught by delta Qi. So we can take at any operating point delta Q naught by delta Qi. So at any operating point we can calculate the sensitivity from the slope of the characteristic. As the characteristic is linear, at every operating point the slope will be same. So the sensitivity is constant. Either we can calculate it from this formula, or we can calculate from the slope of the characteristic. Let us understand this with an example. Let us suppose the sensitivity of a thermocouple is specified as 10 microvolts per degree centigrade. It means for every 1 degree change in the temperature, there will be a change of 10 microvolts in the output. So this is the sensitivity of a temperature. Similarly, if the sensitivity of a spring balance is specified as 25 mm per kg, it means that for every 1 kg weight that is added to the spring balance, there will be a change of 25 mm. There will be a displacement of 25 mm in the spring. So the sensitivity is specified like this. So for every, in case of thermocouple, for every 1 degree change in the input temperature, the output changes by 10 microvolts. Similarly, for spring balance, for every 1 kg weight added to the spring balance, the spring gets displaced by 25 mm. And these two are valid for linear case. So in this case, the thermocouple was linear. Similarly, spring balance is also linear. So for these two linear instruments, so these are the sensitivities specified. So if the instruments are non-linear, the sensitivity will be different at every changing input. At every operating point, the sensitivity will be different. Next important instrument characteristic is drift. And this drift is an undesirable static characteristic. Instruments should not possess this drift. And this drift is defined as departure in the output over a period of time. And this drift is defined as departure in the output of the instrument over a period of time. And the reasons for this departure in the output of, if there are temperature variations around the instrument, if there are mechanical vibrations inside the instrument, or if there are electric or magnetic fields around the instrument. So if there are component instabilities, if there are temperature variations, if there are mechanical vibrations, if there are stray electric and magnetic fields, if there exist any of these four, so it results in drift in the output, departure in the output. So the measured output departs from its actual measurement due to the existence of these four things. So these are the causes for drift in the instrument output, drift in the measurement. And this drift is classified into three. The first one is zero drift, second one is span drift, and the third is the combination of the two. Let us see what is zero drift and how does it affect the measurement, and what is span drift and how does it affect the measurement, and the combination of the two. Let us look into the details of these three. The first one is zero drift, and instrument drift is called as zero drift if the instrument output shifts by the same amount throughout the measurement. Suppose when the instrument input is 0, the output shows some, even if the instrument input is 0, the output shows some deflection. So this is called as zero error. Because as there is zero input, as even for zero input, the instrument shows some deflection, and this error is maintained throughout. If we increase the input from 0, this error gets added to each and every measurement. So this deviation is maintained as constant throughout the measurement. So this drift is called as zero drift. And the causes, and this drift is a result of a variation in the temperature around the measuring instrument, or maybe mechanical vibrations of different components inside the instrument, or if there are any stray and magnetic field. So all these may result in zero error in the instrument, and this zero error is maintained throughout the measurement. So this is called as zero drift. And next one is span drift. So if there is proportional change in the measurement throughout the instrument span, it is called as span drift. Means let us understand this with the characteristic. When the input 0 and the input is 0, the output is also 0. As the instrument input increases, so the output, so we have a nominal characteristic. The output should trace this nominal characteristic, but the output that is measured is following this path. There is certain deviation, so which is not constant throughout the measurement, but there is some proportion in the change. There is some proportional change throughout the measurement. So this proportional change is increasing throughout the measurement, throughout the span of the instrument. If there is proportional change in the output in the measurement throughout the span of the instrument, it is called as span drift. And this error is maintained throughout the instrument span. It is called as span drift. Next is the combination of these two. There is zero error and there is error due to throughout the span of the instrument because of different changes in and around the instrument. So this is not all these are external to the instrument, maybe because of any changes external to the instrument due to temperature changes around the instrument and due to mechanical vibrations inside the instrument and different strained electrical magnetic field inside the instrument, you will get departure in the output. So if this departure in the output is constant, it is called as zero drift. If there is proportional departure in the output over the span of the instrument, it is called as span drift. If these two occur together, we call it as zero drift plus span drift. And this drift is an undesirable static characteristic, and this appears over a period of time. So drift occurs in the output due to aging of the instrument. Next one is hysteresis, and this is again undesirable static characteristic, and this is defined as the difference in the output when the input quantity being measured approaches in the opposite direction. Let us understand this with the characteristic. Let us suppose we are measuring the temperature of an instrument, and this temperature is changing from 10 to 50 degrees centigrade. So let us suppose the input is 10 degrees centigrade, output is 50 degrees centigrade. So we have increased the input temperature from 10 to 50. So we have got these output values. Now we took the measurements by decreasing the temperature from 50 to 100, and we got these output values. So let us say if this is 25 degrees centigrade. So at 25 degrees centigrade we have two output values for the same input when the input is approached while increasing and while decreasing. So we have two output values. Ideally, while increasing and decreasing, instrument should follow the same path, ideal a straight line path. But due to hysteresis error, it is showing different output paths. Means output is different while loading the instrument and while unloading the instrument. So this hysteresis is specified as maximum deviation by output span. This hysteresis H, deviation in the outputs, the difference between these two outputs H by output span. Using this we can specify the hysteresis of an instrument, and this hysteresis is an undesirable static characteristic. So far we have seen about the different static characteristics of the instrument, and these static characteristics are the different criteria defined for the instrument when the physical quantity being measured by the instrument doesn't change with the time or doesn't vary with the time. And out of all those static characteristics, there are some desirable static characteristics and there are some undesirable static characteristics. And an instrument should be highly accurate, precise and highly sensitive. At the same time, it should be linear. So desirable static characteristics are accuracy, precision, sensitivity and linearity. These are the desirable static characteristics. At the same time, dead space, drift and hysteresis are undesirable static characteristics. So instrument should possess accuracy, precision, linearity and sensitivity, and it shouldn't exhibit dead space, hysteresis and drift. So these are all the static characteristics. Now let us get into the dynamic characteristics. And these dynamic characteristics are the set of characteristics defined for the instrument when the quantity being measured by the instrument changes with time, vary with time. So when the input quantity rapidly vary with time, the characteristics possessed by the instrument are called dynamic characteristics. And there are 4 different dynamic characteristics. They are speed of response, fidelity, dynamic error and measuring lag. Out of these 4, speed of response and fidelity are desirable dynamic characteristics. So instrument is expected to have high speed of response and high fidelity, whereas error and lag are undesirable. So out of these 4 dynamic characteristics, speed of response and fidelity are desirable dynamic characteristics. Dynamic error and lag are undesirable dynamic characteristics. So let us look into the details of these 4 dynamic characteristics. The first one is speed of response. It is defined as the speed with which an instrument responds to the changes in the input. Speed or rapidity with which an instrument responds to the changes in the input. An instrument responds to the changes in the measured quantity. Next one is fidelity. Fidelity is defined as the ability of the instrument to produce output in the same form as input. Let us suppose if the input to the instrument is step signal, the output should also be in the same form. If the input to the instrument is sinusoidal signal, the output should be able to produce output in the same sinusoidal form or shifted version of sine. So output should be same as input. If the output is instrument output is same as the input, we say that the instrument possesses fidelity. And third dynamic characteristic is dynamic error, and it is the difference between the true value and measured value of the quantity that is changing with time. So it is same as it is dynamic error. It is the difference between the true value of the quantity and measured value of the quantity changing with time. As these are dynamic characteristics, we consider everything with respect to change of time. So out of these 3, speed of response is desirable and instrument is expected to have high fidelity and there shouldn't be any dynamic error. So whatever the value that is measured by the instrument should be same as the true value. So next dynamic characteristic is lag. So it is the delay in the response of an instrument for change in the measured quantity. So there shouldn't be any delay in the response. So if there is delay in the response of an instrument when the instrument changes, we say that there is lag. And this lag is, there are 2 types of lag. The first one is retardation type and the second one is time delay. In case of retardation type, the instrument responds immediately after changes in the input. The instrument responds immediately, or the instrument response begins immediately after a change in the input. In case of time delay, the instrument won't respond until the dead space or dead zone is elapsed. Until the dead zone is elapsed, the instrument won't respond. So this particular delay is called as time delay. This particular lag is called as time delay. So out of these 4, speed of response and fidelity are desirable dynamic characteristics. Dynamic error and lag are undesirable dynamic characteristics. So after having learnt about the characteristics of the instrument, so we will be able to answer some of the questions. These are some of the possible questions that may be asked with respect to the characteristics. So you may be asked to distinguish or differentiate accuracy from precision. So we have seen what is precision, what is accuracy, and I have explained the difference between accuracy and precision with illustrations. With the measurement of weight and measuring a fixed target position, we have seen the difference between accuracy and precision. So you may be asked to differentiate accuracy and precision with an example, or you may be asked to define accuracy and precision. So the next possible question is, what is the relation between sensitivity and linearity of the measuring instrument. So it is not asked to define the mathematical expression. It is not asked to give the mathematical relation between sensitivity and linearity. So what would be the relation between sensitivity and linearity? How sensitivity is related to linearity? This may be the second possible question. So next one is, you will be asked to define static and dynamic characteristics. What is a static characteristic? What is a dynamic characteristic? Or you may be asked to list some of the, you may be asked to list desirable static characteristic that should be possessed by an instrument, or undesirable characteristics. Next one is causes for drift. What is a drift? So is it a desirable characteristic or undesirable? What are the causes for this drift and how this drift can be minimized? So this is the possible question with respect to the instrument drift. Next, you may be asked to define fidelity. So what is the importance of fidelity? How what should be the fidelity of an instrument? So these are some of the possible questions that may be asked with respect to the instrument characteristics. Thank you. So far we have learnt about the characteristics of the instrument. In the next lecture we will see what are the possible errors during the measurement and the causes for these errors, and how these errors can be minimized. We can't completely eliminate the errors, we can only minimize them, and how those errors can be minimized during the measurement. So we will see about the details of errors in the coming lecture.